I was watching my most recent video and I noticed why I only got 5 seconds of watch time per view. The biggest problem was that I wasn't excited at all and got bored of myself in only 5 seconds. If you have trouble sleeping, then go and watch that one. Link will be in the description, but if you want to be entertained and excited for 26 minutes straight, then sit back, relax and enjoy this video. It's time for the Austrian Grand Prix, but before we get into that, we are doing some upgrades, of course. 2 of the upgrades of last time failed, so we are doing those in time for the French Grand Prix, so no upgrades for today's episode. But it's a sprint weekend, so we have a lot to do. So let's get into qualifying, because oh boy, I can tell you there's a lot of action to come. Here we are then, time for qualifying. We are doing our first flying lap early on in the session, as qualifying is the most annoying part of the weekend for us, as we are really slow in one lap compared to our overall racing pace. As we are coming to the end of our first flying lap, and you can see a little bit of a log up in the last corner, which means that we have lost around 1/10 this lap. Of course, we only set a bank lap, so we can improve in the next laps. Unfortunately, we had an invalidated lap time, which meant that we had to go into the pits for a new set of tires. And we are coming out at the end of the session with 4 minutes remaining, as I want to do 2 flying laps. You can see still on those cold tires, and I want to warm them up, but it's a difficult one. It's yellow flags for us, but of course we don't have any damage at all, so we can continue. 3 minutes remaining, and it's our first flying lap then. You can see, here we go through the first corner, and we have lost almost a tenth to the first corner, but there's a lot to make up in those next corners and sections, as we've now gained 2/10, and it will only become more through those final corners. You can see running wide, and that makes the end of the lap already. It's a 1:51, that puts us in P12 at the moment, but still there's one more lap that we are going to do. And it's right now that it's happening. We had a slow lap to restore the ERS, and it's 100% charged. And once again we set an equal time through the first section. And as we round out the final corner, we finish this lap, and it puts us in P17, unfortunately. So we are out of qualifying, but now in this time we have a sprint race just before the real deal. So let's just hope that our teammates can have a good sprint race and qualifying. So yeah, let's get into that as we were out of qualifying by only 14 1/1000ths of a second. Let's see what we can do in the sprint race.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Ricciardo, Perez, Sebastian Vettel and Hamilton, Russell, Sainz, Fernando Alonso and Jenson Button, Ocon, Norris, Pierre Gasly and Tsunoda, Albon, Mick Schumacher, the engineer and Guan Yu Zhou, Stroll, Magnussen, Latifi and Robert Schwartzman. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
It's time for the sprint race. Here we go then. We are starting behind Schumacher and Albon. But of course we know that we are not that good at starting. You can see us going immediately to the left, and we lose a couple of positions. We are now in 21st position. But in that first corner, we go around the outside of not only Schumacher, but also a Haas. I don't know who it is exactly. I think it's Zhou Guanyu. Let's have a look at it then. No, it's Kevin Magnussen as we push him down the inside. And we go past just another few drivers, which means that we are now up into P16, even P15, as we go past Yuki Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri, of course. And now it's Albon up ahead in P14. We go down the inside of him, but we brake too late and already overtake Gasly as well. It was an accident, but luckily no damage for us, neither for Gasly, as there's a big fight coming up between us. You can see he's still really close behind us as he goes down the inside for turn 4. Here he goes then. Can he overtake us? It looks like it's not, but we are still side by side coming out of turn 4. He is still ahead, but can we fight back in turn 5 and 6? Yes, we can. We are still side by side, but unfortunately it's not enough, and he overtakes us back down into P14. We are losing touch with Ocon and Norris up ahead, but Gasly goes offensive. It's a purple sector for us. We try to switch back, but that doesn't work as Gasly is still ahead. The DRS is now enabled, which means that we can really attack him, but no overtake in lap 3. We are still behind him in turn 9 and 10. It's our first warning. Let's just hope that we don't get any more warnings, otherwise we get a penalty, which really wouldn't help us in our fight towards the front, towards our teammate who is currently in P10. So he will start from there in the actual race. As we now go and overtake Gasly, we're still behind him. We use ERS, DRS, everything that we have, and we go side by side. Around the outside we try to overtake him, but he stays within side by side with us, and he is now still side by side coming out of turn 3. He is really fast. You can see he has the DRS, but we use overtake and we are still side by side. This is one of the best battles I've had with an AI in F1 2022. So if this isn't an amazing fight, then please like and subscribe already. We are now into lap 5. We this time go for the inside. You can see we stick it down the inside and we hold it. We are currently up into P13. Gasly is fighting with Albon already. And this is our cue to go and overtake Ocon and Norris as well, as we do have the pace in this race. So we need to try and capitalize on that before we lose our pace, maybe later on in a few laps time. You can see in front of us everybody's fighting for positions. As Norris and Ocon tap, we collide with Norris. It's just a little loft tap, so nothing wrong there. Albon is now past Gasly and he is trying to overtake me as well. He stays around the outside, but we can hold on to P13 at the moment. Button, my teammate, and the other Alpine is fighting. You can see Norris and Ocon side by side in the last corner. We go around the outside and we overtake Ocon. It's us up into P12. We already tried to overtake Norris as well, going into lap 7. There's so much going on. I can't describe how much I enjoyed driving this race, as now Norris lost a lot of time to us in that first lap. As we go side by side with our teammates, we overtake our team. We overtake Ricciardo as well, and on to Alonso and Sainz we go. We go side by side with Alonso into turn 1, and we overtake him as well. And we are now currently up into P8. From P17 into P8 in only 8 laps time. It's absolutely amazing. We really have the pace this weekend, and maybe we can go for a podium in the big race. Of course, to get a podium now it would be amazing, but I think it's a far shot. So you can now see Verstappen and Sainz going side by side. We've seen this before, and can we go for an overtake once again? It's our second warning, and Verstappen, I don't know what he did there, but he is out of our battle. We had to give Sainz's position back as it was an illegal overtake for some reason. But we can still fight for P6 as we are now side by side with him. We use ERS, DRS, and we overtake him easily. And I can tell you something right now. This will be the end of the race already, because nothing more happens. You can see we are in the final lap. It's Daniel Ricciardo behind us, and then comes Carlos Sainz. Charles Leclerc takes the checkered flag and takes pole position for the big race. There's only 2 corners remaining for us, and we will finish this sprint race in P6, which will give us 3 points for the championship. It's absolutely amazing. We finished the sprint race in P6, from P17 to P6 in only 12 laps time. that's one of the best races I've ever had so far. As there's still one big race to come up as we are driver of the day, but the main event has yet to start.
This is it then, race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. Not long to go before our drivers hurtle off the line and into the first turn, the Niki Lauda curve. It was renamed in 2019 in memory of one of Formula One's most beloved figures. The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of around 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill of turn 3. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Hamilton, George Russell, the engineer, Ricciardo, Sainz, Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda, Button, Gasly, Lando Norris and Ocon, Magnussen, Stroll, Robert Schwartzman and Mick Schumacher, Fernando Alonso, Joe, Latifi and Alex Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And it's an absolute pleasure to be joined once more by Anthony Davidson. We should talk about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Qualifying is done and the sprint race is done. It's going to mean one thing, it's time for the big event, the race. It's lights out and away we go. We are starting from P6 of course. And we are starting on the hard tires. As you can see, everybody's starting on mediums, but we are doing something different as the rain is forecasted at the end of this Grand Prix. Of course, nothing is for sure if it will happen, but let's see what we can do as we are currently down to P10. We are still in the points, but here comes Norris out of nowhere. He overtakes me and my teammate. It's a collision with Button and he has lost his left end plate. So it's going into the pits for him at the end of lap 1. He will not be seeing us anymore as Gasly is now behind us. We have had a battle with him throughout the whole sprint race. Let's see what we can do compared to him in the big one. You can see Norris is into the pit. We ran a little bit wide because we couldn't go anywhere else. Otherwise we would have lost too much time. You can see Button and Sainz are running away. As they are on a softer compound of tires and Gasly is staying with me, but we are running away from Stroll and the rest of course as we don't want to be in a train. Gasly is merely holding on to us as we are putting in a 107 flat. So yeah, let's just try and not get too many of those. It's a warning for exceeding track limits, even though we did a corner cut. I don't know what that's about, but as we are now in lap 3, you can see the difference between us and our teammates is 2 seconds at the moment, but we need to remember that we are on a harder compound of tires and we will be on a pit stop less than them, so if we can stay within 20 seconds of them we will be winning this race, of course if it's going to rain in time. As Gasly is still really close behind us. He's only 7 tenths away from us. And you can see we are already switching to softs because if the race is ending in dry conditions and we are going to end on soft tires as our tire wear is amazing. It's only 2% per lap, which means that we can easily go 25 laps on these hards and not get a puncture. As we are currently in lap 9, we are jumping a few laps as there's not really that much going on. Compared to those first 9 laps in the sprint race, those were really amazing. I think they are subscribing worthy, so please like and subscribe this video. As Gasly is coming on to us, he's only 4 tenths away. He's trying to overtake us with the DRS that he has. It's now going into lap 10, only 2 tenths away from us. As he tries to go for the inside, but there's no room there and he loses a lot of time trying to overtake us there. We lose a lot of time because we are fighting with him, and you can see we are now 5 seconds away from Button and Sainz. But of course we can go for a long run and hope for rain, but as long as there's no clouds in the sky, I don't think there's coming any rain soon. So maybe we need to go on a hard soft strategy, as I said earlier. But as you can see, we are now in lap 13. Gasly is once again caught up to us, only half a second behind us. And we have a bad exit out of turn 3, and you can see Gasly is all over us right now. He tries to go for the left hand side, he switches to the right hand side, and he's now down the inside of us. Can we defend this? I don't think we can. We try to go around the outside, but he is in front of us. The battle is continuing from sprint race to the real race, and is now for points. Of course, last time around we were in P13, something like that. Now we are fighting for P10. Of course, he is on the medium hard strategy. I am on the hard soft strategy, or maybe the hard medium. It depends on safety car and that sort of stuff. But we are really close behind him, and we are going to overtake him as soon as possible to try and fight back towards our teammates and the rest of the top runners. As our teammate is doing a really great job, he's currently in P9, and that's another 2 points for us in the constructors. We are trying to fight back to Ocon and Alonso, who are at Alpine. You can see Ocon is in P13 at the moment, and Alonso is way back. I think around P17 or something like that, so they aren't scoring any points, and we are currently on 2 points. Make it 3 if we overtake Gasly around the outside. Let's see if we can do it. Yes, we can. We are still side by side, but we have the DRS, we have the ERS, and we are going for it. It's a purple first sector. Can we make it a fastest lap? I don't think so, as we are on the hard tires. And they have a bit of wear on them now. I think it's around 30%. As we are in lap 15, then the gap to the front of us is 7 seconds. In lap 16 it's still 7 seconds. Magnussen is fighting with Ocon behind us, so that they are losing a lot of time compared to us. As now everybody is pitting, and so is our teammate. You can see here into the pit he goes, right behind a Red Bull and a Mercedes. So hopefully they can hold up each other. As we want to try and go long and hopefully overcut them. As there's a yellow flag, what has happened there? It's Sainz out of the race, I think. Yes, it's Carlos Sainz out of the race, and there's a safety car. We are going into the pits for medium tires, even though we could stay in P1. I don't think that will be the better option. So we are going into the pits, and you can hear weather report, no rain forecasted, so we are coming into the pits for medium tires. But here you can see we are not focusing on Sainz yet. We are focusing on Russell, as he's going really slow. They are staying in second gear, and that has cost Carlos Sainz to lose his car into the back of Russell. As you can see here, he is going onto the power. On the left hand side is Lewis Hamilton. But Russell just stays in second gear until he collides, and now you can see we are coming into the pits for medium tires, and we hope to end the race, of course, in the points. But as you can see, a perfect pit stop is needed from us, as we want to go and stay ahead of our teammate. Unfortunately that didn't happen, but we are now currently in P20, right behind our teammate in P8. So, not in P20, we are on lap 20. But we are in P7 and P8, so some great points are coming up for us. And of course the roles have switched. We are now on the medium tires and the rest is on hard, so we are going to be faster than them. So let's just hope that we can get a good restart. As safety car is in this lap, prepare to resume racing. No overtaking, of course, until the timing line. Here we go then, and we are once again racing. Gasly is still behind us in P9. He is on the hard, so we are going forwards, not backwards, hopefully. As Button has a bit of a slide out of turn 1, and we try to capitalize on that one as soon as possible. We are fighting with him for P7. He goes to defend on the inside, and he overtakes Verstappen. Actually, his defense goes into attack, and he is now side by side with Max Verstappen. You can see it here. We are focusing on him now. As we are doing nothing at the moment, we are just sitting behind. They are still side by side into turn 4. I think that was a collision, but no damage there for either of the cars. As they are still side by side, who is coming out on top? Let's just see. As now Button goes around the outside, and I think he has made it. Yes, he has. as we are now really close behind Verstappen and we are going to overtake him as well. Down the inside at turn 9 and we go into P7 and P6. This is absolutely amazing for our team. Let's just hope that we can do it even better and overtake Hamilton and the rest of the guys as well. As we now go down the inside in lap 22, it's us in P6, our teammate in P7, but he is still fighting with Verstappen, of course. The fight continues between them as we are now going towards turn 3, side by side with Lewis Hamilton. We are going around the outside of him. Perez collides with Leclerc, nothing much there, but we overtake Perez as well, and we are currently up into P4. It's absolutely amazing. This is the best race we have had so far. Of course, we've had a win, but this one is amazing. We are now up Leclerc's engine, but let's just hope that we are not going to collide with him and we are just going to overtake him in the next couple of laps, as we are currently in lap 27, only 10 laps remaining until the checkered flag is out. We need to stay on track for 10 more laps. Of course, not getting a penalty is a big deal, as we are currently on 2 warnings and we are still behind Leclerc. Of course, he has no DRS, we do. Which means that we are going to overtake him. We go side by side once again into turn 3. Can we go for the overtake around the outside? It's still side by side. Who is getting the DRS? We are. We are using DRS, ERS and everything we have in our car to overtake Leclerc. And we are up into the podium positions. It's now still Ricciardo and Vettel ahead. But they are really strong this weekend. As Leclerc was actually leading the race until the safety car period. But you can see in lap 30 we have created a gap behind us. We can rest now, as Leclerc is 1.6 seconds behind, Ricciardo is 1.4 seconds ahead of us, and Vettel is 3.5 seconds clear of us. So let's just try and overtake Ricciardo if that is possible. Still 5 laps remaining and only 1.5 seconds of a gap. Of course, the McLaren is really strong, so it's going to be difficult to overtake him in those final laps. As of course the AI has some overpowered ERS in the final 2 laps. So it's going to be really difficult, as our ERS is pretty much empty going into lap 34. You can see we are almost catching up to him and getting his DRS, but not quite yet. As we are now in the penultimate lap, can we get the DRS this time around and overtake him? You can see we are within 1 second going towards the final corners of lap 35. But we are going to skip those and we are going straight on into the final lap. You can see we are still behind them. We have the DRS, but of course they are now in their overpowered ERS mode. And you can see they are just way too quick. Hamilton and Leclerc are still fighting behind with a 5-second gap to them. As you can see, only 1 sector remaining as we're going into the 3rd sector now. It's Vettel still up ahead, and Ricciardo, of course, is a 1-2 for McLaren if they can finish it this way. And I see no other option than they do it. As Vettel now goes around the final corner, and it's going to be Sebastian Vettel who takes the checkered flag here in Austria. And he wins the Austrian Grand Prix. It's amazing to see him back on top. But we, of course, finish this race in P3, and we have a podium. It's absolutely amazing. It's been so long since we have had such a good weekend. We go from P17 to P6 in the sprint race, and even in the race we are still strong, and we go from P6 to P3. Wow.
That's it then for another spectacular Grand Prix here in Austria. And a truly magnificent drive to hang on and take the win. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on track was: speed. I know it sounds like an awfully reductive statement, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
Our winning drivers are on their way to the podium right now. It's been a fantastic race for McLaren, that's for sure. And no doubt, they'll be celebrating tonight.
It's been an amazing race this weekend here in Austria. Of course, McLaren having a top weekend, getting a 1-2. For them, it's 34, no, it's 43 points, not 34, I'm sorry. But we finish in P3, our teammate finishes in the points as well. I don't know in which position exactly, we will look at that in just a moment's time. But of course, as I said already, going from P17 to P6 in the sprint race has really helped us to get this podium. As we are now looking at the results of the race, you can see our teammate finishes in P8 behind the 2 Red Bulls. And as we are going to have a look at the standings, we have the fastest lap as well. You can see we are up into P10, and we are now ahead of Esteban Ocon and only 4 points behind Fernando Alonso. So that means that we are not far back of Alpine. It's now 250 points from us to Ferrari, so we are not overtaking them anytime soon. Even if they weren't attending the final races, we wouldn't overtake them, of course. But of course, we have a fantastic weekend. But as we are going back to the headquarters, you can see 2 upgrades have gone the right direction as a contract renewal with our teammate. But that will be for next episode. If you want to see that, then please like and subscribe. The support means absolutely everything to me. And if you want to see the French Grand Prix, then click on your screen right now. Goodbye.